Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite podcast, the Bikini and the Brain podcast, hosted by myself, Ashley Kaltwasser, and Adam Bonilla, head coach of TeamElitePhysique.com.
That never gets old. It never gets old.
Well, yes, okay. And we are going to be your amazing podcast hosts for today, like we are every single podcast episode. So,
yes.
I'm not about to say this is a good episode, but it is. Because today we're going to talk about discovering our drive, I think we talked a little bit last week about motivation, and a lot of people seem to be very intrigued by it. And it's such an expensive topic, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I think it's a good opportunity to discuss it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's really important to discuss it too, because it's funny when we're with you because you're one of the most motivated, like you stick to your diet, you're really always motivated, and people sometimes have that, the desire, like, how does she do it type of scenario, and it's good for people to know that, sometimes you lack motivation too,
Yes.
and even the most motivated people lack motivation. Sometimes I do too, and even just in the office, and it's like the dream job, and so it's like, it's good for you, for people to see, the struggles that you go through and how you can keep yourself motivated too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with everyone, we all have days where we're just blah, meh. Just don't feel like going to the gym, don't feel like eating properly, and just not as motivated. It would be nice if every single day you woke up with like such a good mood and it's like, yeah, I cannot wait to diet and exercise today. Oh my gosh. And we all have times where we are like that, right? But not every day, not 365 days a year. So I think it's important to realize that myself and Adam over here and everyone else goes through times where we're not feeling it as much, not as motivated. And it's completely normal,
Yeah, and I think that that's a very important for people to understand too, is that you might be going through a motivation slump, but it doesn't mean you're done with the sport. And I think a lot of times people will instantly go to that too. I do hear that. Like they'll do a few shows and like, oh, I'm just burnt out. It's just not for me anymore. And I'm like, it's just a dip in motivation. Like, don't give up on your long-term goal still because you're going through a dip in motivation. You're in a slump, that because that turns around real quick. And so I think that that's really important to discuss too, is like, when is it a motivation thing, and when is it your time is like kind of done, right? When are you actually ready to quit? Because I think people do mix those two up and they instantly go to it. I see that a lot as a coach when someone does one show, two shows, like, oh, it's just so hard. It's just, I don't think it's for me. I don't really want to be in the gym anymore. I'm like, no, you worked hard for 6 months going through a full transformation, going on stage, eating, chicken and whatever. You just need a little bit of time to find the fun in the gym again, and I think that that's where a lot of it comes from, is finding the fun in the gym again. Mm-hmm. And you've been really good at finding the fun in the gym. And I think a lot of it is because you found fun in different ways of doing cardio is honestly, I think, what keeps you there. Cause you get those, what are those, the splats, right?
Splat point.
She's splat-tastic. I told them about your splats. I went and did Orange Theory with her like twice. And then I realized it was cardio based, and I'm allergic to cardio. It's an actual medical condition. So with the splats, it's like, would you get 50? Did you get 50 at one point?
I don't know. I honestly forgot how much it was. I want to say it was around that. I could be wrong. I don't know.
You've gotten high 40s at least. Yeah. I don't know if you broke 50, but it's basically for every 1 minute that you're in the like highest heart rate zone, is it like 90% of Carvona or something? It's like 90% of your highest heart rate where it should be, like you get one splat. So like the class is 60 minutes, not counting the stretching. Mm-hmm. Obviously you're not going to splat during stretching. Right. So like you have like 50 minutes available. So I don't even know how you do that,
just
but yeah.
Get right into it, I guess.
That's intense, man. That is intense stuff. Your cardio conditioning is pretty impressive.
Well, it's probably not as good as it used to be, because I did take during my little improvement season, I was only doing like one cardio a week, and I was kind of not making it extremely intense. I'm not sure, but yeah, I like to do Orange Theory for cardio. And nowadays I don't really go for to break my splat record, but it's nice to know that like I always try to like aim for 500 calories burnt during that class, and just I think it's cool that I don't have to think about the cardio I do. They kind of just direct you, do this, do this, do this. It's like a circuit, you know? So I don't have to think about it, and I don't have to stare at a wall on a treadmill, you know, either. So, you know, that's fun. And depending on the weather, I walk there and walk back, which is another mile there and a mile back. So yeah, that definitely takes care of the cardio situation. So I have like options to do with cardio. And if I don't want to do Orange Theory, I can do step mill or anything else. But I do enjoy that. And as far as keeping motivated in the gym, I thankfully have an awesome training partner / trainer, Sam Catlin. And, you know, I will say for me, one of my flaws is I don't push myself as hard if somebody's not there pushing me. And I've been spoiled my whole life because I've always had like a coach, like directing me, monitoring me, whether it be in gymnastics, whether it be in track. So I've always had somebody there to push me, to hold me accountable. So when I do it by myself, I just don't get the same results. So, you know, if you know this about yourself too, you know, maybe hire a trainer or have a training partner work out with you to hold you accountable and just to make things a little more fun so you don't have to think about it as much.
Yeah, I think that is probably the most motivating thing. But I will say this, make sure you find a good partner that can keep you accountable, and you can trust that they're going to not miss workouts and mess you up.
Yeah.
Because I've had it happen the other way too, where I was very strict on my schedule, and then I had a friend who was like, I want to work out with you. I was like, okay, cool, I'll use the extra help and the extra push in the gym and drop sets and all these things that he can help me with. And it was great at first, for like the first week, 2 weeks. And then he started missing workouts. And the problem was we were on the same workout. So if he missed a day, then I would have to miss my day because the next day we were going to be on the same workout, or we'd be on a different, he'd miss like whatever, chest that day or whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. So just make sure that they're accountable, and you can kind of hold each other accountable, going into it, hey, this is the workout we're going to do for this month or whatever it is. We're going to work on these things. This is the workout format we're going to do. We can't miss a day, because if I miss a day, then you're going to be behind on your workout, and that's not fair. And you both commit to that and say, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to work hard. We're going to push ourselves. I would say that that's probably one of the more motivating things. Like if you have friends on Instagram or someone at your local gym, like it's cool, and you can develop a really good friendship from it too. And then you know that you're pushing yourself and you're keeping accountable. You're going to be at the gym at X time. And I think that that's really, really huge. If you can't afford a trainer, of course is awesome too. Same thing. You got a fixed time, someone pushing you past the point where you would go on your own. And that's, I think, one of the main benefits of a trainer. So, and that's what I used to manage trainers. I managed trainers for, since I was 18 till, I guess I still do now. So, but what's funny is I would always tell the trainer, as long as they worked out harder than they would work out without you, then you did your job right. If you push them harder than they would push themselves, and they can leave saying, okay, that was worth it, then that should be the trainer's goal, right? Push them harder than they push themselves, which is the way they're going to take themselves to the next level. So if you do that a couple times a week, work out with a partner, someone that you can really trust and keep accountable, I think that's one of the huge things of overcoming the obstacle of, oh, I don't really want to go to the gym today. Like my motivation's not there, or keep pushing it back. And we've all been there where, like, I do this. Well, I don't anymore because I work out in the morning with Kimber. But when I was working here, like on a Monday or Tuesday, because Mondays and Tuesdays for me are pretty long. I'll be here sometimes till 9 at night. And, I'll be like, oh, I'll just work out after work. And then like 8 o'clock comes around, and it's so easy at that point where I'm saying to myself, well, it's going to be a crappy workout if I work out right now. So maybe I'll just take today as a rest day. Right. And then you do that, or you work out and it's a crappy workout. Right.
Yeah.
But if you got a training partner who's meeting you there at 6, or me right now, every day I work out at 9 with Kimber. Right. So it's like, okay, I'm working about 9. Like that's my time. Like everything needs to be booked around that now. That's a really good way of staying motivated. You got to like keep motivated. And actually, what makes me really sad? This is kind of off. It's on topic. It makes me really sad because one time, Sean Roden, before he passed, he was talking to Anya when she just got her pro card, and I was recording him, and I didn't have the record on. I was like just pointing a camera at him without recording, and I was like so mad because it was such an awesome motivational like speech. I'm like, what advice would you give her? And he's like, honestly, my thing that I would tell her is whatever time you work out, whatever your schedule is, no matter where you're at, just stick to your schedule. Yeah. Like he goes, when I travel, when I'm doing all these like, booths and events and all this stuff. He's like, when I get off the plane, I go right to the gym. I stick to my schedule. I'm supposed to work out at 9. I'm on a plane until 9:30. I just drive right to the gym and have them drop me off. He goes, I don't ever want to get off my schedule. It's like once I'm on schedule and I have that routine, then it just keeps me accountable every single day. No matter what you're doing, just make it work, you know? He's like, as long as you can do that, you're going to progress, you know? And so it was like, he said it more eloquently than I did. And then I was like, it was such a good, I was like, man, I was all pumped up after listening. And then like Anya was like, she's like, that was like the best thing. And I'm like looking at my camera. I'm like, Anya, I was like, I know. And I still remember that moment. I even told him too. And he's like, I can tell her again. I'm like, dude, it was magic, you know? It was magic. That was one of those moments. And I'm like, man. And then I hired Arthur. Because I can't press record on my own.
Yeah, thank goodness for Arthur. He wouldn't do that, right?
No.
But I think that's really important. You know, schedule is everything. And I think if you do keep to that routine, it makes everything so much smoother to the point where you don't even have to like think about it. You know, you have to prioritize it. And I know for me specifically, I'm very much a morning person, and you remember, it's like if I got to work out before like noon, you know, I mean, cardio is even earlier, right? So I'm definitely a person like I do cardio at like 6 a.m. or so, sometimes sooner. But like I just can't picture myself doing cardio so late because my motivation literally by the end of the day, it's like it declines. It's the best in the morning when I first wake up, and then it slowly declines. So I need to make sure to get that in before I, start to get unmotivated. So I cannot procrastinate. And I think sometimes the hardest part about a workout itself is just getting to the gym, because we work up something in our head like, oh, this is going to suck. I don't feel like it. I'm dreading this. I'd rather do this. I'm tired, whatever. And you build up the scenario in your mind that it's going to be so bad and you might procrastinate. But once you get to the gym and you're in the zone, you're like, oh, okay, I'm glad I'm here. And then when you finish it, you're like, I'm glad I did that, So I think, it's important to realize sometimes like that is the hardest part, is just literally getting yourself to the gym. Yeah. So don't even procrastinate, because once you start cooking up these concoctions in your mind, it's just going to get worse and worse. Sometimes you can't like even think about it. You're like, nope, just go. No, I'm going. I don't care if I feel whatever. I'm going. And then when you're in the zone, got your music on, your pre-workout going, hey, it's magic.
That is, that's really good.
Yeah,
I like that.
Sometimes
especially in your head.
Yeah,
in your head things.
And I will say some of the best workouts I've ever had were from scenarios like that. Like, I just don't feel like going today. Oh, can I just not? Maybe I'll do an at-home band workout, And then, I got to the gym and I was like, you know what? I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
So
people underestimate how important that little voice in your head is, you know? And actually, we'll go into like a quick history lesson on the little voice in your head. So, and how much power it holds over you and how you can control it. But one of the things is, obviously I talked, boxing a lot and whatnot, about just not listening to that little voice of that guy who, I told the last episode, and I was like, as soon as you give up once, then it's easier for you to give up again. And it's like you kind of train that voice to get louder and louder and louder. But it's so crazy that the voice is so strong in your head. But before people understood what that voice was, like that it was you talking in your subconscious, right, to yourself, they actually used to think that was the voice of God in their head. So early man thought that voice was God talking to them directly, and they would act upon it. So like that's how strong it was, right? Because it would like control you all day, type of thing. Isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. Like I could understand, I guess, if you didn't have computers and any technology and you didn't know much, I guess you could be easily convinced that would be, right? Because you can't really like shut that guy up. He's going to talk, right? In your head. And you kind of can control, but we found out, you can control based on your actions what that voice is saying, and just not listening or letting him speak more and get louder and louder and louder. So as soon as you kind of create those patterns of not listening to the voice that's telling you not to work out and then turning it into a positive, then, it changes the whole game. I had and one of the things, I think I've said it, I don't know, probably 3 times on the podcast before. And it was really cool to like listen to motivation from other coaches. Like I talk to a lot of coaches. All I do is honestly, when I'm at shows, just talk to other coaches like all the time. It's fun. It's a fun thing for me. And you learn a little each time. But my friend Russ, who's a coach, he was a pro bodybuilder, and then he went to classic physique. And he had to like lose a lot of weight to get ready for classic physique. So he'd have to diet super, super hard to get there. He'd have to diet. He's like, we're talking, I don't know what his weight class was, but he walked around like, let's say 225, 230. And he would have to get, lose a lot of weight to make classic physique. So he'd have to basically starve himself. He'd have to be like 900 calorie type of thing, which is crazy for a guy that big to eat that little, but he had to make weight, and that's how he had to do it at times, not always, but at times. And I was like, man, how do you do that? Cause like I could do it 900 calories for a week, that's cool. But I'm 190 pounds, 185 pounds. At 900 calories, I'm probably 175 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, how are you doing? He goes, what I've done is, he goes, when it hurts and I have this like pain in my stomach and I'm like super, super hungry, I just say to myself, yeah, that means my body's probably using a lot of fat right now. He's like, that means that shit's working, Yeah. And I'm like, he's like, so I just like embrace it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting leaner. Like,
the same could apply to like a lot of people love the feeling of being sore. I love the feeling of being sore.
Yeah.
It's like painful, but it's a good pain. Like I worked myself. Like, dang, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you respond, right? Yeah. To the pain, I think is a huge factor. So like if you leave the gym and you're like, I'm probably building some muscles here.
Yeah. I did something today.
Yeah. Versus the other person's like, I went to the gym. I'm so sore. Like you all hear those people, right? I went to the gym. I was so sore for so long. It's so uncomfortable. Or you could be like, yeah, I'm probably building some muscles right now,
Yeah. Challenge myself. Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, you could kind of train that voice, and like that was for me listening to that, especially from like, a pro who does pretty well. It was like, okay, that's a whole nother level of mindset, right? Yeah. That's a whole nother level of like embracing the suck. We always say, got to embrace the suck a little bit because it's going to suck. We do have to like put that out there, guys. Like, we're doing stuff to our bodies that we're not supposed to do to your bodies. Like, it's not health and fitness we're doing here, guys. We're doing extreme physique sports and extreme, all capitals, right? You're not supposed to be this lean and this muscular at the same time performing at crazy human potential levels while not consuming that much food and putting out a ton of caloric expenditure. Like of course, it's not going to be comfortable if you want to have, glute tie-ins. Like, sorry guys, like it's not going to be the most comfortable journey. It doesn't need to like suck. You don't need to kill yourself to do it, but there's going to be a level of discomfort. So how you accept that discomfort is going to really affect how long you're on the journey and how enjoyable the journey is to you, People always are surprised with Ashley. Like, how does she keep doing it? How does she keep doing it? I'm like, she loves it. That's how. Like, that's it. Like, she just loves it. That's it. That's how, that's how all these people who work crazy hours or do crazy things, they just love it, Exactly. Elon Musk, he works 80 hours a week. Why? Because he just loves it. He wants to change the world, right? It's like, it's not anything. It's not titles or money or this. They just love doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone has something that they just, other people might question. I'm like, why though? Like, why and how? How do you like that? But we're all, we all have our things. And, I think it's like we always say, you don't feel like an alien because other people are trying to make you feel like one. Yeah. Like, just because you like something different or live a little bit of a different lifestyle that most might not see why. Like, why do you do that to yourself? Like, because that's fun,
And that's why most people aren't successful, though. Yeah. That's why most people are not going to be successful. You have the average group, and then you have the below average group. And the average group will look at the below average group and be like, you need to do more, right? The same people, but then when you're doing more than them, they'll say, you need to do less because it's intimidating to them to see what human potential is. And they look at it as a direct reflection of what they're not doing versus a direct reflection of what I can be doing. Right. So when you see, it's funny because it's the same people who are like, oh, that guy's a loser. He's not doing anything. You're like, you're barely doing more than him. And then you're yelling at someone who's doing more than you. Like, what are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've trained my mind. I'm like, okay, when I see someone doing more than me, I'm like, kind of envious, right? Which I shouldn't be, but I am. I'm like, there's a client I have, his name's Alex. I won't say his last name. He knows who he is. And he's like, I don't know how old he is. He's like 59 or something. Like he's got 15 at least years, 20 years on me. He's got a kid. He's got a wife. He's got a huge business. And he's always got abs, and he's always working hard, always doing his cardio, always doing stuff. And I see him, and I'm like, gosh, he does more than me with, like, I have no excuses, right? And I just look at him. I don't look at him and I'm like, hey, you should do less. Like, take it easy, buddy. I'm like, damn, okay, if he could do it with more on his plate than I have. He's got like 500 employees. like I have no excuses. Yeah, like
Right.
I don't look at it that way, you know. And I think that we should all be like, you know, see greatness and want to do more, and not tell greatness like, hey, you're doing too much, right? Mm-hmm. So hats off to Alex. He crushes it just nonstop.
Go Alex!
Seriously,
Woo!
he's like, he always has abs. He's just amazing. He's a machine, man. So it's like, it is frustrating to see, because I'm like, I do good. I work out. I don't want to like make myself sound terrible. I work out 6-7 days a week. I eat clean. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm pretty decent. But he does more than me, and I aspire to do more, right, with what I got. So, but I think that's the problem, is people see that as intimidating, and then they want to pull you down. And then sometimes you listen to it, but that's why the average is still the average, and the above average is always going to be doing something different than the average. You have to do more than the average person if you want above average results. There's no other way to get those results. And it's going to take some not listening to people, and it's going to take some not listening to that voice in your head and shoving it deep down, and finding your own motivation and spinning things like soreness is good and being hungry is good and all these little things to get there. And that's just the crazy journey of success. Nothing worth, what do we say? Nothing worth doing is
nothing worth having. Wait, hold on. Anything worth, I don't know. I give up.
Someone fill it in the comments.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
You say
anything worth having. I don't know.
Well, I don't know what it's.
It's basically what it means. Like if it were easy, anyone could do it.
There you go.
Something
along the lines of is your why greater than your how, right? Yeah. Is your why greater than your how? That's the good one right there.
Oh goodness, that's funny. That was one of my favorite quotes.
I know. That's why I was like, it's in my head, but I'm forgetting it.
It's like on the tip of my tongue. Oh my gosh.
So 2019 podcast.
Yeah. Come on.
Can we address this real quick too? So, Mr. Caldwell, I want to thank you very much. So he got me,
listener of the show.
You know, I found out that Mr. Caldwell here listens.
That's my dad.
That's her dad. He listens to the show, and he knows I'm a boxing fighting fan. And he got me a Jack Dempsey autograph that he found one day. I mean, how cool is that? One of the OGs of boxer. Jack Dempsey was to boxing what was basically what Arnold was to the IFBB. Like, kind of created a lot of light around it. Created a lot of made it really mainstream. Like back in the day. He held the title. I don't know how many years he held the title, for a long time. So pretty cool. This is going in my office. Cool history, you know. Never forget the paths, right?
Yeah. So that was one that you spoke about on the podcast, yeah. Before.
No, he didn't have. Well, there was no media on him back then. You know, we don't have any clips or anything like that to really go off of. He was just a badass, is all it was.
Okay.
He held the title. Has one of the most knockouts. I think he's got like 50 knockouts. One of the high. I think he's got the most amount of knockouts, actually. There, not in a row, or highest percentage, but most knockouts, 50 knockouts. I think he's the only one to get that.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. Imagine knocking 50 people out.
Holy moly, yeah.
It's like so many people.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what do we do when we're not motivated, right? So, easier said than done. You know, you can't just tell somebody, well, just find a motivation, you know. But, I always say this, guys. Ambition is stronger than motivation. So even though we're not motivated every single day, we think of the bigger picture. And if you're ambitious enough, you freaking go for it. Even on those days you're not motivated, you just keep going. So again, one of the things that we can do when we're not motivated is think more of like the bigger picture rather than the moment, right? So although you might not be in the best mood in the moment, you might not feel that fire in the moment, just realize, you know what? This is a mood. Maybe you didn't sleep that night. Maybe there's something in your life going on to distract you from your motivation. Something else is getting you in a bad mood, and it's translating over to the goal you're trying to accomplish. So that's maybe why you're not feeling as motivated. Definitely could be the result of outside factors, but it could also be something to do with like even just like the environment you're in is slowly kind of just making you feel blah, you know, and a lot of people experience this in the wintertime because it's like, well, you know, it gets dark at 5, it's cold outside, they don't want to get out, they don't see their body in like shorts and tank tops because they're all bundled up, so what's the point? And I think for us, well, me, it's like the lack of competitions going on is like, well, you know, they're not going to happen till March, so it's hard to really get motivated when you're not in the best environment. But I would definitely suggest that you immerse yourself in the culture whenever you can. So whether that be going to weekly or monthly posing classes at Team Elite Physique, or maybe that's watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos about like the goal you're trying to accomplish. So of course we're going to appeal to a lot of competitors. So let's say that's a show, watch shows, live streams, past live streams on YouTube, go to shows. And I will say, going to a show, you'll get so much more benefit out of it than just watching it on TV, because it's like the feeling of being inside and smelling the spray tan and seeing everything happen in real life is so cool. And I feel like that's where I got my bug to compete again in 2017 when I took a year off. I actually went to my friend's show and just to watch. And I came there and I smelled the spray tan and I was in the environment and I was like, oh, I'm getting the bug to compete. And then that just like triggered me to want to compete again. So I highly suggest you immerse yourself in the culture when you're not feeling as motivated, even just hanging out with somebody that is in the culture, just kind of even having talk time, going to coffee and just talking, about competitions or whatever. Like just little reminders that like, hey, this is a goal that you want to accomplish someday. You can also reflect on your past accomplishments. Like, that can be very motivating for people too, being like, well, that one time a few years ago, I did this amazing thing and I know I can do that again. I can do it even better. And it doesn't even have to be a competition. It can be some accolade that you've achieved in the past. That's a sign that like, oh, I remember how I felt when I accomplished this. I miss that feeling. I want to do something epic again. So I think it's really helpful just to like reflect on your past like accomplishments and accolades. Of course, surround yourself with the right people in general. Like you don't want any Debbie Downers or negative Nancys, right? So I'm sure we all know somebody that's like motivating and just cheerful. And anytime you see him or talk to him, you automatically get in like a really good mood, because sometimes if you're not around the right people, they can kind of bring you down too, and also set yourself up for success and prepare yourself, right? So like I've mentioned, sometimes we're just like in a bad mood and it's good to have things to like fall back on. Like, so let's say you're unmotivated and whenever you're in one of these headspaces, you tend to just binge on food or whatever. Prepare for anything. Don't have any bad stuff in the house. Have like your go-to, I'm going to have this snack instead, or anything of like along those lines. But just set yourself up for success and not failure. And of course, the accountability thing we already talked about to get you back motivated again. Sign up for classes or whatever you have to do to hold yourself accountable. You sign up for it, you make a commitment, you're going to do it. So that can in itself can be pretty motivating. Just having a date as well, like setting a date. That's why a lot of competitors will turn in their contracts early or sign up for a show and register early, because they know like, okay, I signed up for the show in 2 months. I'm going to do the show. No ifs, ands, or buts. I already paid for it. I'm already booked everything. I'm going to do it. There's no way I can't. And that can be a good source of motivation for people. And then also reward yourself with small goals that you've achieved on your way to the bigger ones, and not with food. Let me stress that. Not with food, because a lot of people will automatically think food. Okay, I got lean. Now I deserve this and this. No. There's other ways to reward yourself, and it doesn't have anything to do with food. It could be, for me, it's like going to the spa, like, pampering myself. It could be just having a relaxing night in. It could be going shopping for something. You can do little rewards here and there for yourself whenever you've achieved a mini goal, whether it be hitting that 5 pound of fat loss mark or whatever. I think it's not a bad thing to reward yourself as long as it doesn't involve calories, because we don't want to backtrack, right?
That was really good.
Yeah. Do you have any things that you do to get motivated?
I just think about where I'm at more than anything, because I go through those periods now, and I will say, and I don't know if you went through this, but when you kind of accomplish your goals, it is harder. I think it's harder to stay motivated when you accomplish them. And then that's something that people I don't think talk about too, is that when you get there, then it is harder to like be motivated to stay there. I think the journey is always like greater than getting there. I think that day of reward is, but my days of reward weren't ever like your days of reward too. They're different. Like you won the Olympia, that's a pretty big like final put on an award. Like, okay, I got it, right? Mine's like, it's like, you know, you got the gym and you got this, but it's like still like, it's not like a final, you know what I mean? There's not like that big day, you know, type of thing. So, but yeah, I would say that that's a hard thing. So sometimes I'd look at it when I'm like having my lack of motivation days, and I'll look back and I'm like, look at all you've done. Like, appreciate it for a second. You don't ever want to be without it, right? You never want to be without it. So like, be grateful and do the most you can with it, and like, let that voice shut up, you know, tell that voice to shut up. Because I have those days too. I love what I do. I always love, but I think with anyone, you do anything long enough, like you'll go through those things, you know? And so I'll be like, okay, look at what I get to do all day long, right? And you might be the same way, and you might be like, you know, look what I get to do. I get to go to the gym. I get to have my friends from the gym. I get to have these conversations at the gym. I get to go to shows. Like, I'm climbing. Maybe it's slow. It's super slow in the NPC, whatever. I'm making improvements year over year. My following's growing. All these things are coming because of it, whether it's like coaching, or maybe you do makeup, or maybe you do whatever, something maybe local, like industry related. And then you just like look back at it and be like, okay, all this goes away when I stop working out, when I stop showing up 100%, when I whatever, right? So I look at it. I look at those things too, because look at maybe like maybe it's not the most positive thing, but I look at what I could lose if I wasn't motivated too. Once you get there, type of thing, right? And then and sometimes what I'll have to do too is I'll have to like be like, remember what the alternative is, right? And I'll think about what that is if I'm ever not motivated. So let's say you're doing shows and you're having a hard time with motivation, and you're just like, and what I do find weird, and I find this to be somewhat common too, is that people will get into doing shows and get into physique competitions because they love the gym, right? They've always loved the gym. Nothing ever kept them from the gym. They love going, the fitness, everything, every part of it. They love it. And then do a physique show. And then it doesn't go back to, okay, I just love the gym, even though you're not doing physique shows anymore. It goes to like, I don't want to work out anymore, which is really, really a strange scenario, right? I'm like, wait, what, can't you just go back to just loving the gym, right? So what I will say to you is remember what got you into it, right? Remember where the love was for it, don't ever lose the love for it. If something is causing you to lose the love for it, then stop. So for me, it was a few years ago. It was like maybe 4 years ago. I don't know at this point, where I said, you know what? I had too many people, and it started becoming work. And I was like, okay, I'm only going to do 10 check-ins a day now. And that was me. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing 10 check-ins a day, 10 clients per day checking in. And we'll do that 4 days a week. And that's going to be, and I love it, right? Because you can turn anything into work. You know, if you work out in the gym and you're getting ready for shows and you're like, okay, I'm going to work out 2 hours a day plus 2 hours of cardio, whatever. Now it turned into something that's just work, right? So I think that you have to like recognize those things too, and realize when it's time to take a step back a little bit and reset it for it to be fun for you, and have that balance of fun, still accomplishing your goal, and don't lose the love for it by way of making it not fun. You know, I think that's a big part of it too.
Totally. And I think too, it's like, I think it's perfectly okay to take mini breaks every once in a while. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I don't see the issue in taking mini breaks. Now, I'm not saying like a whole year, but like I think people would be surprised that like after really big shows or whatever, you know, I can take a week off from the gym and I don't really feel guilty about it. In fact, it makes me want to get back into the gym even more, because it's almost like it gives you an opportunity to miss it. So it's okay to take little mini breaks. You just can't go off too much, obviously. But, you know, if you're having several days in a row where you're just not feeling it, not motivated, and all else fails, maybe you just need like a little mental break, even if it is a few days. You're not going to lose that many gains in that period of time, you know. You just got to be smart about it and just, you know, keep your diet in check if that's the case. But it's totally okay, and you don't have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing if you're not feeling it as much. You know, if your season's over with and you know you have a little gap, a few days off from the gym or whatever, you know, and you don't feel like working out, then don't, you know, just take a few days off. And then when you come back and you'll be like, yeah, I'm so excited to get back in the gym and all that. So it's almost sometimes you have to rediscover, you know, the love for it. And I do like what you said about like realizing what position you're in and how lucky you are, and that's what kind of keeps you motivated. And I feel like that's the same for me too. It's like I realize how lucky I am to be able to do these things, so I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to take it for granted, and it actually pushes me more, because I realize it's a unique position to be in, and maybe not in that position forever. So take advantage of it while you can. But also, I think I'm a little bit motivated by fear as well. In the year I took off completely from diet in the gym in 2017, that scared me because it like made me never want to get back to that place again. And it was so hard to get the weight off, to get back into shape, because I let myself go so much. So like a part of me is like motivated by that fear, like, oh, I'm not going to let that happen again. Especially when it comes to off seasons and stuff. I'm like, whoop, got to keep it in check because I don't want that to happen. So that's like, a form of motivation as well, just like the fear of what could be if you slack off too much.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hard one.
Yeah.
Ashley didn't see an ab for a better part of 18 months.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It was tough.
That was tough.
So
yeah.
I swear that will never happen again.
I don't think it will. Hasn't. I think it's you're not just motivated, but traumatized. Yeah. I've been down the road once before. I do remember, and I only took off, I told you, I talked about it too. I took 6 months off from the gym, and getting motivated to be back in the gym was so much effort. I don't know if you didn't say yours was so hard, right? You didn't like have the struggle of getting back in the gym,
but just to get back into shape was hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yours was just actually getting results, even though you're trying so hard for it. That's where a lot of people quit too, is where they're like working hard and they won't get results.
Yeah.
I talked about it the other day. I've never seen anyone, it was like on a clip one time, I've never seen anyone stick to the plan, not get to their result. I've never seen that happen, but I've seen people take, twice as long as I thought it was going to take. I've seen people take way longer, having very minor results weekly for some reason for a long period of time, but they would still get there if they stuck to it. So it's just a matter of sticking to it, even when it's not working, because it's your body's it's never going to be linear. And I think we all need to take that in. Like it's never this, it's not like you're just gaining interest in a bank account and it's set interest every single month. With the body, it's not this linear, oh, I lost 1.5 pounds. Oh, I lost 1.5 pounds. Oh, I lost 1.5 pounds. Yeah. It's like, oh, sweet. This week I lost like 3 pounds for some reason. And then next week, next 2 weeks, it's like, dang, I gained 0.5 pound, and then didn't lose any the next week. I did the exact same thing, right? Yeah. What was really, really cool is it was an older show called Biggest Loser, TV show. And you'd have, when I was a trainer back then, obviously I've been a trainer since I was a fetus. So when I saw that, it was so eye-opening for me, because it was like the premise of the show is really, really overweight people. We're not talking, losing, 20 pounds to see some abs like Ashley. We're talking, 200-pound people overweight, like 200 pounds overweight type of thing. And all they did was they basically went to this house and they ate certain foods, and it was like basically a TV show / fat camp type of scenario. All they did was cardio, eat barely anything, and they would talk all day long just on the treadmill moving. And you'd have these huge weight losses. Like one time I saw like a 22-pound weight loss in a week, like crazy weight losses. And then the next week, the exact same thing, and the guy would go 0 pounds. And you're like, wait, what? Like, that doesn't even make any sense for someone this large or doing the exact same thing. And it was really eye-opening to me as like a trainer. I was like, it's just not predictable, like the results are going to vary so greatly, even in that scenario, which is pretty much best case scenario, controlled environment, excessive cardio, repeating the exact same thing you did the week prior. Someone who has a lot of weight to lose, someone like Ashley, who needs to lose whatever, 1%, 2% body fat to be ready for a show at this point. Like that's a little bit, obviously is going to be harder, right? You're like, okay, well, she's already so lean. The body, of course, is going to fight a little more at the end, right? But someone who has 100 more pounds to lose, you're like, oh, he's going to be fine. He's going to keep getting results for a while. But nope, doesn't always work that way. So it's like, that is something you have to just accept with this sport. And it's just part of it. And it is unmotivating to not get results a couple weeks in a row, but it's just something it's just part of it,
Right.
So.
And not only that, is everyone's going to run into roadblocks along the way. Nobody's like got a perfect journey to the stage. Everyone's going to have something, whether it be like maybe somebody got a little injury, or they were snowed in their house for a week and they couldn't get to the gym. There's going to be roadblocks, just realize everyone's got their own unique set of roadblocks. So don't let that roadblock be like you think it's a sign just to quit. It's not, because just realize that everyone goes through something along the way. It wouldn't be nice if everyone just or, you look at somebody in there and you think like, oh, okay, every week they lost 2 pounds and their journey to stage was smooth, and then they won, and then they won the next show and the next show. And next thing you know, they were Miss Bikini Olympia. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be so easy. But no, it doesn't work like that. Everyone, if you talk to them, has their own set of hurdles, of barriers, and something that happens along the way that really got them discouraged or delayed their progress in some amount. So just realize you're not unique in that, and don't count yourself out so easily. Just say, you know what? This might have slowed me down a little bit, but I'm pushing through because I want this goal at the end of the day. Whether that, even if it takes me twice as long, I still want it. It's still doable, and I can do this. So don't let that hold you back.
Yeah, I think that's very good and very eloquently said today, Ashley. Yeah. So okay. So we got pretty much all the basics covered for motivation. Find a workout partner, work out with a trainer if you need to, take some time off. I think the time off thing is important because people really think that as soon as they take a week off, they're going to lose everything. Yeah. People really freak out about that. No, it doesn't work that way. And just to give you guys some like firsthand examples, I've been coaching, forever. Right. And so Bikini, since it basically started, and, working with a lot of females are going through whatever would be like a breast implant surgery or whatever, and they have to take like 6 weeks off from the gym, or they get a minor injury or something like that. But generally, like an implant surgery is like 6 weeks to 8 weeks off from the gym. And every time the girl's like, I'm going to lose everything, all my gains. Every single time, like 2 months to 3 months later, they're 100% back to where they were. It comes back so fast. So people always think it's this like, it's going to be this game-changing, career-ending thing. If you needed, 2 weeks off, a month off from the gym, you look at Mr. Olympia's like Ronnie Coleman, who's got, he's a mountain of muscle. He would take off a full month after the Olympia. I think Sean did too. Yeah, Sean did do that too. I think Phil took off a full month too after it. So it was like, these guys are taking, they're the most muscular guys in the world, and they take a month off of working out after the Olympia, and they're better than next year because of it. I think a lot of that, has to do with Kevin Levrone did it too. He did it for months at a time. He would do it like 4 months at a time. It was crazy. And, so these guys would, it's a very common thing. If you need that, don't think that it's, weakness or anything like that. Don't think you're going to lose everything, and just know that, if you're doing it for the right reasons, not just being lazy, saying I just don't want to work out, and you just need a rental reset, then there's nothing wrong with that. Usually for me, it's 4 days and I'm like, I just can't do any more than that. I'm like, get me back in the gym.
Yeah. But I will add with that, be aware though that the same rules don't apply to taking off time from your diet. So,
no.
You can skip the gym for a week and you probably honestly might not even notice. But if you take a week off from your diet and start binging and going over, life's unfair, you're definitely going to notice. So it doesn't translate quite as much when you apply that to the diet, but definitely you can take some time off from the gym and you probably won't even know. Your body probably won't look much different.
Yeah, the diet, it's an unfair exchange. Yeah, it's an unfair exchange if you take a month off of your diet.
Because I feel like that's what people would mostly want to do is like, I'd rather take off from my diet than the gym, Yeah,
we should talk about the motivation part of the diet while we're here, And obviously we talked about the suffering part of it and just embracing it and changing your mindset on it. But, some tricks around staying motivated while on a diet. I think in the off season, I have no problem. So what I'll do in the off season is if people need a macro meal per day. So I don't like doing macro meal plans because I feel like the net calories are too far off to collect accurate data. But a macro meal per day, just one per day where you eat whatever you want for that meal, and it's like 500 calories of whatever with the minimum proteins or whatever, I can still use that data and it won't be that far off. Maybe even if it's off 10% net calories, then it's 50 calories off on a 500 calorie thing. It's not that big of a deal in the off season to do that. So if you need that once a day, great. If you need a cheat meal once a week where it's just like a free meal of like 1,200 calories once a week, like tell your coach you need these things. Don't try to like white knuckle it all the way to the show if you or the whole year just because you're trying to have this long-term goal of being, Miss Bikini Olympia. It is going to take some suffering to do that, of course. But, you white knuckling it all the way there with eating just chicken breast, like all the way, like, yeah, you're probably going to run out of motivation at some point with that. So yeah, find what works for you, what's realistic for your mindset, and talk to your coach about having those things, a macro meal, a free meal a week, diet break, whatever, and keep it realistic, but there is going to be a diet that's going to work for you in all ways, getting results, keeping motivation, not feeling like you're completely suffering. And sometimes it's relationship based too. You know, I have quite a few women who are like, I just need, like, I don't even want really a free meal once a week, but it's just that my boyfriend wants to go out to dinner once a week, like on Fridays or something. So can we have that? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We'll just do that, you know, and make it work at a restaurant and have a little bit extra calories, whatever, and put it in the actual meal plan. So, you know, I think that there needs to be that happiness. Because even if you're at home and you have a husband or boyfriend who's like, all you eat is chicken. We don't go out anymore. We don't do anything, like, you know, you got to find that flexibility with your own personal life too. So where this doesn't become a negative factor in that, you know? So find what works. That's going to keep you motivated. If everyone in the house is fighting you because of your diet, you're not going to be motivated for too long, you know? So, so I guess
I was going to say too, with the diet is like, you know, I don't know if you would classify this as motivation or not, but, you know, anytime I would think about going off of my plan and having something else, you know, like let's say a cookie, just giving you an example. I look at that and I'm like, I worked so hard for my physique so far. And I know the amount of effort I have to put in to theoretically burn off the calories in that. And it's just not worth it. And not only that is like, let's say you have the cookie, you're feel guilty afterward. Most people will. So although it might taste good in the moment for like 5 or 10 minutes, you might feel satisfied. Most people will get a little bit of that guilt afterwards. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Like, I regret that. That's not going to help me towards my goals. It was nice for the 5 to 10 minutes that I was eating it, but now I'm just like, why did I do that? So much regret. So knowing that about myself, and I think most people would have like that regret, you know, I think it's important to think before you start to eat whatever you want. Just slow yourself down and be like, hey, is this really going to help me get to my goals? Is this going to make me feel guilty? Is this going to slow my progress? Or is there a better option? You know, is there something I can do that will satisfy my craving, but doesn't come along with all the calories and everything? So, you know, luckily there's many options you can do nowadays that are healthy. You know, even Quest cookies, I love those things. But, you know, even if it's like eating more vegetables or just drinking some Diet Coke, anything that will satisfy the craving, just think before you start eating, because you're likely going to regret it and it's just going to slow your progress down. And not only that, you're going to develop habits. Like we mentioned, I believe in the previous episode, you know, developing habits and then convincing yourself, oh, I can eat this because all I got to, you know, I can just do cardio tomorrow, extra cardio. And then it becomes like a yo-yo and you can't keep up with it for too long. And it's just going to throw all the data off and everything. So it's better off just sticking with your diet. Don't feel any guilt and get to your goals much faster.
Yeah. You know, you're a coach too. And I was just thinking when you were saying that, have you ever had a client message you after they cheated on their diet really bad and was like, I messed up on my diet this weekend and man, it was so worth it. Or man, I really like.
No, it's usually guilt and shame.
Yeah, it's what it is, right? Like I messed up. Like I was thinking about, man, I've been doing it for years. No one's ever said no one's really checked it on a Monday or whatever and been like, yeah, I really messed up on my diet this weekend and it was worth it. Like it was like, it's like, I'm up 3 pounds. I, you know, screwed up my diet, man, now it's going to take me 2 weeks to get this up. Like, it's never like, you know, so it's like, it's such a penalty, you know, it's such a penalty. Cause like if you are up 3 pounds and you're the average female, yeah, that's another 2 weeks. So you lose the week of dieting that you would have made progress if you didn't do that, just whatever, that big meal. And then you lose 2 weeks trying to get that off of you on top of it. So now you're down 3 weeks for 1 meal. It's crazy. The exchange is just not worth it.
I know it is. It's so crazy. It's like, this is like the part where life's not fair, man. It's not just like fair. The amount of damage you can do in like 30 minutes of eating versus the time it would take to get it off and get back to regular. Oh my gosh. I mean, of course, there's certain scenarios, like if you're super depleted and overly lean, maybe, but like, let's say you're trying to get stage ready. The amount of damage that does is just, it's like, it almost makes you laugh how unfair it is. It's like, how?
Yeah. It's funny because there was a show this weekend and Nikki had, like, someone brought donuts for everyone. and I just had like a piece of one, and I was like, no, that's it, I'm good. Like I was like, they're like, just take the whole thing, and I was like, no, if I take the whole thing, I'm gonna eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I just want a piece of it. I got it like that, whatever, 50 calorie bite, and I was like, this is great. That was delicious, and like that's, you know, that's all I needed, you know. And so I think that takes time to get to that.
Yeah, it's that's a great way. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm like, sometimes I'll even, for example, I don't even be tempted by food, and I'll just be like, if I wanted something after a show and I saw something like at the store, something like maybe a new protein bar or something, I don't know, I would just say, Adam, can you keep this with you until after the show or whatever? Just because I don't want to be tempted. Not that I would give in, but you know, the temptation. But knowing that about yourself is like super important. That way you don't have to like look at the food. Like, because if you have if you buy a whole box of Oreos and it's opened, likely you're not just going to take one and then you just stare at it the rest of the week. It's like, no, you're probably going to eat that throughout the week. So, you know.
Yeah, I've never seen a box of donuts like in the house of someone after a show. Just
like, oh yeah, I'm done with those.
Yeah,
just looking at them.
It's never happened. Even if it's a lot of donuts. You know, when I was in Denver, I would have a lot of people like come by the house and like stay there and do shows and whatnot. I remember I had someone there one time staying over to do a show, and they didn't have like those donuts. We went, I think it was Voodoo Donuts in Denver, and she was there. She's like, I want to get this donut. I want to get that one too. I just want a piece of it just because it looks cool. And so she bought like these like 5, 6 like monster donuts. They're not like regular donuts. They're like covered with cereal and all this crazy stuff. And she did good after the show. She just had like a bite of each, like she said. Like she had a bite of each. But then we just had them at the house. And and she, you know, they fly in on usually Friday morning, and then they compete on Saturday, and they fly out Sunday. I don't even know when it happened, but they were all gone by Sunday. She flew. I worked those each of those donuts had to be 1,000 calories each at least, like maybe more. They're big. I don't know what a donut is calorie wise, like what 1,000, 1,200 calories.
Depends on how
That's
big
like
it is.
5,000 calories worth of donuts when it was supposed to be like 800. I was like, man, the penalty on that is so extreme. So be careful with what you keep in the house. It's feed it to the birds. That's always my way of getting out. My way of getting out of like meals when I have like extra food is I'll grab, like whenever I feel like, okay, I've had enough, I'll just put my napkin on it. And I'm like, okay, the napkin's gross, right? Cause you're like wiping your hands and stuff. And I put it on it and I'm like, okay, I can't eat it now cause that's gross. If I'm like getting to the point where I'm like taking the napkin off the food and eating the food, it's like desperation food, right? So then I'll just take that and feed it to the birds and I don't feel bad about throwing it away.
There you go.
Yeah,
we don't waste food.
No, you've taught me that. I feel bad now when I waste food because of you. So anyway, I guess with that, is that it? We're going off on a tangent here.
Unless we have any good questions.
We didn't have any questions. Someone said, "Are you saying you can't eat a cookie? That sounds miserable." No, we're not saying that. No, that's not
what we said.
We've never said that.
Look at them trying to rationalize in their mind. See,
that's the mindset.
This is a bad mindset to have. You're rationalizing and making up scenarios in your mind. That is not what we said.
Yeah, I love it. I love when we call people out like that.
Like,
so
come on. I can already tell what this kind of person is. I mean,
yeah, you're not winning the Bikini Olympia title with a mindset
it's like that Jordan Peterson interview. So what you're saying is, you know what I'm talking
Try
about?
to spin the words.
Like, stop. No, we're not falling for that here.
No, I love that. There was one girl who said, nothing worth having ever came easy.
There you go. That's it. Wait, the applause button.
Yes, where's applause is this one. That's it for quick of the draw. All right. That was basically it. We didn't have any real questions. Just maybe that one was agree. She said, I agree setting a date is so important. I think that is huge. What I've found as a coach over years too is that there's 2 times people are like the most motivated. Well, really there's 3. But the most motivating part of someone, that's not a pro. I will say that's not a pro. The most motivating prep for anyone is the Olympia. Like no one messes up during the Olympia. Like it just doesn't really happen. Like when you're in, now I will say when you're in prep for the Olympia, not when you're qualified, but when this is the outside of that, it's getting married, like getting a wedding. Like a wedding prep, people just stick to their diet. It's like so great. Like when someone's like, I'm getting ready for a wedding, I want to do a transformation. I'm like, sweet. Yeah. Like you're going to stick to it. This is great. Like, it's a huge motivating factor. So when you see, so setting a date is important. And I think that I always tell people too, when they're doing like a transformation, it's hard to be motivated for a transformation when there's no reason for it at all. So maybe you find something. Maybe sometimes it's like a high school reunion. Sometimes it's a beach vacation. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? Just book a photo shoot for yourself and, you know, do it. There's a lot of photographers out there that do photo shoots for, you know, a few $100s at a gym and like set this date for that as a goal, like 4 months from now, you know, whatever, a beach thing with your girls or whatever, you know, that type of thing too. So I think that helps a lot.
Heck yeah. I
So
like that idea.
yeah, for sure. You're always doing photo shoots. That would be hard to motivate you because you're always doing them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even diet for them or anything. I'm like, well, you can always just change the angle or shadowing. There's so much you can do with photos, though. Like, I'm just like, I don't do anything for photo shoots. I'm just like, well, if you want me leaner, you can just shadow my abs more or something. I don't know.
Here's another question. How do you feel about kickboxing and sparring as cardio? From Tommy. I love kickboxing as cardio. Kickboxing is probably like one of the better hit cardios you could do. You know, no pun intended. But no, it's great because you get your heart rate up. It comes back down. It's fun. You have like a trainer leading the class. It's super cost effective. Usually you could be in a a kickboxing class for like $150, $200 a month, and you can go, you know, 5 days a week at that price, and it's great for cardio. And you learn how to self-defense. I think that's important too. So, yeah, other than that, I guess that's it, guys. I hope this is funny. Run and Bike says, when the quotations, what you're saying is drop, someone is about to completely editorially change what you said.
Like, I know.
100%.
Yeah, that person knows what we're referring to. I'm sure most people don't even know, but yeah.
But that's what we talk about. People sucking you back into the norm. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Come be normal with us.
Yeah, come be normal, accomplish nothing with us.
Because I said
Yeah.
I even just used a random cookie example. It could have been anything. Like, so you're saying we can't have cookies? That sounds miserable.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, eat your cookie.
Eat it. Go ahead.
I'm fine with, not eating it.
That's wrong with. That's the thing is, it's like, what's wrong with? Go ahead. Go have fun. I don't care what you do. Anyway. That was fun. I like when you get spicy.
Oh yeah.
You know what? We have to do another spicy episode one of these days soon.
Oh, yeah?
I have a good topic for you too.
Spicy.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. It was we did this one episode like fat acceptance community, right? Mm-hmm. It was crazy. This guy did one. He posted a picture of it the other day, and it was underwear models, and it was the girls were all different sizes, but no one was ripped on the girls. They were all like, heavy to regular, but no one like lean like they used to be, like all lean and skinny, right? Mm-hmm. Like the models. But now it was all like regular to pretty, obese for sure. But then there was like pictures of all the girls that they were selling, and then it was all guys below it, and all the guys were shredded. I was like, what? I was like, wait, has it gotten to the guys yet? Like,
no, that's so unfair for guys. You guys got to be all shredded.
Well, it's funny. They're saying like, the different levels of fat acceptance. The fat acceptance community is totally different to guys than it is to girls. And it's like, it's funny because he's like, basically the girls are still saying they're attracted to this, but the guys are being forced to say that they're attracted to this, which they're not. I'm like, so it's kind of funny. We'll have to do one of those. That's actually a pretty funny comparison.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's juicy. All right. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.